What's up, everybody? This is Ahmed,
And Lofy.
and this is the Brotherly Love Podcast, episode 16. Wow. 16.
Take 16.
Take 16? Oh, yeah, in a way.
Yeah.
In a way.
Oh. How you doing, bro?
I'm good. I woke up roughly around 6:30, and I knew that we had a Quran study this morning, so decided to finish off the surah that we're supposed to finish.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt good. I woke up and I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna do this, and it felt good being in my own space and not being disturbed. Sometimes I'll get anxiety that like someone will come in and ruin my peace.
Dang.
Yeah.
I think that's actually like one of the things that you're trying to gain out of meditation or out of like mindfulness is that like, or I don't even know, but out of this journey and personal development, you could call it,
Mhm.
that we're all taking, is like when that part of the challenge isn't just like theoretically, in my best practice in the morning when I just wake up, when everything's going perfect. Like it's kind of like in the day to day when there's bullshit happening, can you bring mindfulness and peace into that? Because like there is going to be outside things that like enter your sacred temple.
No,
You know what I'm
it's
saying?
100% true. Like
Yeah.
there are times where I'll wake up and I know in my mind, I'm like, bro, you should meditate before you go outside today.
Mhm.
But I'm like, nah, I'm only gonna go outside for like 2 hours, and then I come back and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm dealing with so much. I remember, what's today? Today's Wednesday. This might have been on Monday or Saturday. I'm not 100% too sure, but it was in the middle of the day, and I can tell I was very anxious. So for not the first time, but just in a minute, I decided to pray. Like the way that Muslims pray, like it was different. I mean, I just did it because I was like, let me just at least try. It definitely made me calmer, and then I meditated, which made me even more calm.
Mhm.
But yeah, I feel like the more you go into your self development journey, the more open you are to your feelings. So the more you recognize things that hurt you. Because it's like no one's like a bulletproof vest, type thing where you're never gonna get hurt. You're always gonna get hurt, and I feel like the more that you dive into that journey is the more not necessarily the more it hurts, but the more you can like see how it affects you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, day to day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're all on that journey.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm good, bro. I'm really good. I actually also was reading the Quran this morning.
Mm.
I read. I went outside to the garden,
Mm.
tended to my plants.
Your little babies.
Yeah, my children. And it was nice. It was really peaceful. I was out there. I was, doing affirmations, and I mean, I also, that's the thing, is that there's a lot of things that I try to do in the mornings, right, to
Mm.
set my day up straight. So it's like, whether it's trying to meditate so I can bring mindfulness into my day, saying affirmations so I can affirm who it is that I am or want to be, or a million other things. Like it's nice, and like you try to do all of them, but like real life, you don't get to a lot of them. A lot of times, and like those days, like you realize where you're missing it, because like you said, like it's like, oh, okay, I just want to go do this real quick before. And so like you mess up your routine for a second, and that like throws everything off. But I think in that instance, what you have to do is like rely on that training that you were doing in the morning to bring it back in and be like, no, it's fine if I didn't meditate the third thing I did when I woke up right after I wrote in my journal before I had a glass of water. Like, let me just meditate now that I'm stressed. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that's kind of how life in general is. Like the quote always is, you ask God for patience and He gives you a line at the bank.
Mm.
And I find myself often in lines at the bank, like literally. Like
That's actually a very, very interesting quote. It's like the way that we ask is not the way that it will be that we think it'll be received.
Yeah.
When we think of Allah, grant me patience, it can be in a form of a test. I think that's what a lot of it is. Saying a lot of what we ask for is just a test. Let's say, for instance, if you're trying to be more like a wholesome person and you're not trying to really go into your bad habits, you can ask God like, hey, like I want to remove myself from these situations. and then randomly these situations will pop up, like a bunch of them, like an abundant amount of them will pop up, and you're just like, what, God, what's going on? And then you realize, oh, it's on me to choose how I look at it. So like, let's say for instance, the morning routine, like I think it's important to at least like have a I wouldn't say necessarily like a schedule, because everyone's schedule is different and some days are going to be hectic, but at least have that practice that when you are stressed out or when things aren't necessarily going right, you know exactly what to do. Like I know for me personally, like when I start becoming very like quiet and I don't want to talk to people and I get very like irritated, when people talk to me, I know that means I need to take a step back and go back into my sanctuary and figure out like what's going on in my head, and that might take 15 minutes, 30 minutes, but then I'll come out way more calm and in a different approach of how I'm viewing my day.
That's one of the like the beautiful things about like Islam in particular, is that the religion, like, I mean, and I'm not well versed enough in other ones to necessarily to speak on them. I mean, maybe even not Islam to be honest, but like,
Yeah.
you pray 5 times a day. So, throughout different times throughout the day, like you're kind of mandated to bring mindfulness into like your day. Like that's like one of the cornerstones of the religion, and it is like you said, like a big thing. And a lot of us, don't do it. Um, and we should challenge ourselves to do it. Whether it's in the traditional way that people pray or just in trying to bring mindfulness. And then it's all, I also think it's amazing how it's like it's broken up throughout the day. So it's like,
Mm.
From dawn, to midday, to late afternoon, to sunset, to nighttime.
It makes sense though.
Exactly.
It makes complete sense now that I am like slowly becoming an adult. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you are an adult.
Yeah, you can say someone's an adult, but until you have those responsibilities of an adult, uh, um, I wouldn't necessarily consider you an adult. Does that make sense?
Yeah, actually, let's have the
Yeah.
conversation. What do you think that like quantifies, or is it not quantifies? Qualifies.
Qualifies. I'll touch the base on that, but I want to talk about.
Sorry. Go
No, yeah,
ahead.
you're good. You're good. But I understand now why like they let Allah ask for like 5 times in the day. As a kid, I was like, nigga, 5 times. What do you? What? Like I can't just pray once and just like keep it going. You know what I'm saying? Like what's
Once a
going
week,
on?
man. We just
like,
right
what's
Sunday or something.
like just on that day, like why is it so a big deal? But then you realize, oh, throughout the day, there's like I wouldn't necessarily say evil, but there's definitely external factors that are gonna affect you as a human. So it's important for you to go throughout your day to like in the morning, you know what I'm saying, you started off like having the intention to be mindful and to help others. And then throughout the day, something might happen, you know what I'm saying, from dawn until, midday. And now that can be another 5 minute, 10 minute break. I feel like that's what it is. It's like just a meditation break for like 5 to 10 minutes to just be mindful and to just like understand stuff.
Yeah.
But back to what you're saying, what was the question? I apologize.
What about adults?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we skip that for a second. Like, even go back to like, I mean, we'll go to that in a second. But like,
Yeah.
even something like, for instance, like wudu, right
Mm.
before you salli, like, that there's like significance in that too. I believe, like when you're dirty, like literally, and then you go take a shower, like you feel better.
Yeah.
Like there's something to this stuff, and it's like, it's, people like to mix in like, oh, you know, talking snakes and parting seas and blah blah, whatever. But
Oh, the stories.
yeah, but if you look past that at what like a lot of these traditions, the benefits and significance and symbolism that you can gain from them and how they can positively like impact your life, like why
It's
not?
crazy. No, it's hella crazy. Like I remember, I think this was at the dinner table one time. I was like, I don't necessarily think I believe in the stories as reality,
Mhm.
but I do think they're a big metaphor of how we can apply it to our daily lives. You know what I'm saying? I don't think Allah only meant for this book to, be relevant for the people at the time. I think he meant to have these holy books for generations, you know what I'm saying, for them to understand and to see what it is. And, I feel like the more I have gone into a route of like, let me do decisions that I know are best for me, you know what I'm saying, and put myself in a headspace where I can always have Allah in my heart, it's always gone to the point where I can see things in a way different view. Let's say, for instance, water. Bro, water is like the most essential thing about us. You know what I'm saying? It's so weird that we're 75% water.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, sometimes when we're upset or sad, it's like we don't realize it, but sometimes we might just need some water. You might need some sunlight. Like that's why
Like you said, people were 70-some% water, and people are like, "Oh, I don't like water." It's like,
like that's disgusting. Like,
It's
bro,
like, bruh,
when
and
people say they don't drink water, I give you a disgusting look. I'm like, how dare you don't drink water?
Yeah.
Like that's just ugh.
It's like, yo, it's just natural, man. It's like, yo, think of like, and that's why I love my garden and I love tending to
Yeah.
it in the morning, because there's so much symbolism in that as well. Like when you give something water, like it grows. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Bro, the lemon tree and your eggplants, bro, they have grown
Yeah.
fast.
you know what I'm saying? Like when you give like you give them the right nutrients, the right, like you put them in the right environment, and then like you tend and care to them. You know what I'm saying? And like that's the same thing with like yourself, and especially like water is a big one, man. Like I was thinking about this yesterday because I went on a run, and like, I sweat a lot, right?
Yeah.
And but I've always, since I've been a kid, like I've just sweated a lot. It's just something that, whatever. And I always think about it like, why is it that, I sweat a lot compared to other people and stuff. And I think about like, where we're from, and if it's genetic factors or if it's like dietary factors, or like what could be the cause of it. Of different people sweating different amounts. And like there is like a biological thing to it to an extent, right? Like depending on like where you're from and your body's needs. And like we're literally from Africa, like one of the hottest places where, people back in the day would be out there running.
Yeah.
Like they'd be moving and stuff like that. And it's like, if you need to properly like dissipate the heat on your body, like you need to sweat a lot. But that also means that you need to consume
A lot of water.
a lot of water. And when people are constantly like, "Oh man, look at these beautiful, Nubian skin," it's like, bro, these people straight sun and water. Like same thing with like plants, like sun and water. Like,
Isn't it so crazy? I was actually I
people
was
like always like, "Yo, Ahmed, how's
thinking
your
about
skin
this.
popping?" It's like the nigga drinks water. And sweats.
It's
just sweat out the sins and
It's-
drinking new nutrients.
Yeah, like just I've gotten that question a lot. Everyone's like, "What's your skin routine?" And it's literally just that. I mean, it's mainly just drinking water and going outside every day to like just exercise or do something. But it's I was just actually thinking about this. It's crazy that white people are a biological defect in terms of their skin color. Let me explain why.
Yeah, I was like, bro.
So everyone knows that we all originated from Africa, right? And even Bill Nye like broke this down. Everyone originated from Africa, but the more that people migrated, the more the generations of their their skin color would go down. So the more white that you got, it was usually that you were less away from the equator. Let's say, for instance, people that are in Europe, you know what I'm saying? People that were in, East Asia, like their skin, I mean, not even East Asia, actually East Asia, they have a lot of darker skin people, but some parts of Asia, they have lighter skin. And it's in a way, it's literally a defect because you're supposed, like literally, you're supposed to be near the sun. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're supposed to, like what Lofy was saying, like, absorb the nutrients of the sun, but also like do a lot of movement so that you can sweat things out, any bad toxins or and any anything from your diet that's bad. You can sweat it out, and then you can gain in new nutrients and have a better. I feel like a lot of times when I work out, I have a way better like thinking process of what I eat, because sometimes I'm just like, I'm hungry and just you eat whatever, but when I work out or when I do an exercise, I'm mindful. I'm like, you know what? Let me eat some blueberries and strawberries, or let me, drink this amount of water and, things like that.
I agree with you. I just want to. I agree with what you're saying, like on the general premise of skin pigmentation and how it relates to, UV like ray exposure and like all that. Like I'm fully with that, like logic and train of thinking. Calling it a defect,
it's not a defect. Yeah, it's not a defect.
It's just a biological result of like something natural. Like if you can understand like that at different points along the Earth's, bro, I don't know if it's longitude or latitude, but up and down.
I think
North
latitude,
Pole at the top, up and down.
I think latitude is side by side, and longitude is long ways. Or I don't know. It's vertical and horizontal. That's
All
what I
right,
know.
I'm gonna just
Yeah.
say north south. Even I don't even know if I mean I guess there is a
West.
magnetic north and south, so that might actually still hold. But
Yeah.
that direction, like there's different UV ray exposure, right? And then
Hmm.
like yeah, I'm fully with that. Yeah, and I think that there are like results that come from it, you know. And then like the other thing too is like, bro, like when I was in New York, for instance, in Ithaca, bruh, those winters, man, like when you,
Cold.
it's not just about the cold. You don't get that much sun
Mm.
up there, and so like psychologically, it fucks with you.
Oh yeah.
Like people get winter blues in general, just because there's a little bit less sun, people are staying inside. But when it's such an extreme amount of like less winter, like it really fucks with your mind. Like,
Yeah, no, 100%. I remember this was back in 2018, so this is my sophomore year of college. Um that December, I remember I came home for like three 3 or 4 days, and then I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna return back to campus. I'm allowed to, and I want to have my own space.
mhm.
Bro, when I
You
told
only
you,
here for 3 days?
it's like 3, 4, five
When
days
was
max.
this?
This
Was it?
was 2018
Oh,
in
was I here?
December. I think you were. I
Oh,
don't know, but I decided, cause I was just here, and it was cool to spend time, but I was like, I need to go back to my own space.
mhm,
And so I left, and it was just so like, not only because it was boring, but I was like, yo, it's so dark all the time. There's not
mm,
that much sunlight. I'm always staying inside. So yeah, it messes with your mental a lot.
mhm.
Like I think sunlight plays a big role on I wouldn't say endorphins, but I guess dopamine. You know what I'm saying? Like it you need sunlight in order for your day by day to go pleasant. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I agree. It's just like the light in general. Like I said, like we're living species too.
Yeah.
Just like when I grow the plants, you know what I'm
They
saying?
need
Like
sunlight, they
they
need
need
water.
sunlight, they need nutrients, a proper environment, and like constant, well not all the plants, but you know, like water, you know,
Mhm.
constant supply of like water. And like that's what makes them grow. And just like that's what makes us grow. Just like every, you know what I'm saying? So it's like that's the thing with like human arrogance. You know,
What
it's
do you
like,
mean?
well, it's almost like I don't want to be one of those people who's like, you know, species. Is it called speciesism? Speciesism? Speciesism?
What are you talking about?
I'm saying like, you know, like I'm not one of the people who are like the human species is like not superior to other species in certain way. I think
Is
it's
that a
called.
thing?
I think so. You know some of these people how they think, bro. Like you know they be out here like
Hey
you know
man,
we're not better than anybody else.
I don't know. In terms of the food
I was like,
chain,
yeah, that's why I was like,
yes, we
I was
are.
like, you know, because like y'all still be eating plants, right? And like those things are alive too. Like,
Yeah, bro. Every time I'm not every time, but
like the fruit
sometimes
of
I'll think
plants,
about
like,
it when vegan. Not all vegans, because I know some people that are vegan and they're very like they're cool with it. You know what I'm
mm-hmm,
saying? They don't really, they're just chilled. But then there's some vegans that are like, I'm vegan. Listen to me, I'm vegan. I'm better than you. And sometimes I just want to pop the question like, you understand plants are living too. You're killing them, right? Like I never asked
it
that, but
depends on their reasoning. If their reasoning is from like that morality standpoint, then maybe you can use that as a pushback. Maybe there's a pushback to that too. I haven't heard it, you know. But as
I
far
don't
as
know.
I know, like plants are alive.
Yeah.
Like just because it doesn't have a face doesn't mean it's not
Yeah,
alive.
like
Like
it's actually proven that
ideas
plants
are
feel
alive.
pain. Plants, you said what?
I said ideas are alive.
Oh,
Wow.
plants feel pain.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
whenever
They
you
get sensitive
they
and
get
stuff.
sensitive. If you rip them, they get stressed out. There's a lot like they are literally not old
Yeah.
like humans, but they have factors that are human
Mm-hmm.
like. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
You can influence and manipulate them in
Yeah,
certain ways to grow
yeah,
in certain
crossbreed,
ways,
all that
like
stuff.
mm-hmm,
Yeah,
vertical.
I've always wondered this, and this isn't necessarily with plants.
Mm-hmm.
How does like space work in a way? So imagine this. Okay, that's a very generic question.
No,
So
go ahead.
let's say, for instance, Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Earth spins on its axes, and it just rotates at a certain, like at a 45-degree angle, and it rotates. How in the hell does that work? Like I never understood that, and how there's it's not literal rings, but the way that it rotates, like the way it's designed, you know what I'm saying? It baffles my mind if you think about it. Like it's like, yo, the sun is literally in the place, like right here. A sun is just a big star, and then around it is just planets circling it. Like, how does that happen?
I'm not a physicist, bro. I don't know.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
it's just interesting. It's just really interesting.
it is. It is. I mean, you have to go back to like the beginning, right? Of like how you think things unfolded, not what started it, but how things unfolded,
Yeah.
right? Um, and then like from there, kind of move. And I guess there was a force that pushed things out, and then this concept called gravity, which I don't really get either. But like it
So
kind of
crazy.
allowed things to circle around each other, and like
Yeah.
circles, I guess, are the perfect shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. They're the perfect shape because there's no corners
Do you believe
to
there's
cut. Tudumts. It's a bad joke, but yeah. Huh?
do you believe there are life forces outside of Earth?
Mm. It depends on how we define life. Like
Okay.
there's people here who don't think, like we were just talking about vegans,
Mhm.
right? There's people here who don't think that plants are life. There's people here who think that animals aren't life. There's people who think that nothing besides a human being. There's people who even think human beings be like, fuck y'all niggas, like pop pop, like if they had the opportunity to. They be in rush hour traffic, like
I had such a weird dream. You were
what?
in there.
What happened?
Pretty much I went to a school, but for some reason the people in the school were a collection of people from my middle school and high school. And it was weird. And there was a girl that I know, I'm not gonna say her name, but there's a girl I know from high school that every time I went to class would always like yell my name and it's like when are we gonna go out? When are we going out? And I
In
just
high
look
school or in your dream?
in my dream, but she was from high school.
Okay, okay.
And then I just give her a look and like I just snicker and just like walk away. Everyone like laughs with me and stuff.
Damn, bro.
Yeah. Because
I gotta embarrass her.
I don't know why. My bad. It's a dream. The next day, there's a video.
Is this still in your dream or
Yes,
in real life?
yeah, no,
Okay.
this is all in the dream.
Well, you went to sleep in your dream? Damn.
No, I didn't go to sleep in my.
Yeah, no, I got you. I got
but
you.
yeah. Inside the dream, the next morning, I guess So in my sleep, I had a dream, but in that dream, I also had a dream while I was sleeping. I know that sounds really like
Inception.
weird. An inception. That there was like a whole like sex trafficking ring thing, and it was really weird. And like she was part of it. The girl from the high school was part of it.
Bro, did you go to high school with Jelaine Maxwell?
Bro, I don't know. It was so weird. Like and like apparently, like you said, like when people didn't, they kind of disregarded life. They're like pop, pop, pop. Like in the video, not in the video, but in my dream, or whatever, people got killed like right in front of me. I was like, yo. So then when I woke up, you mentioned it. You were like, don't you remember that? And I was like, what are you talking about? And you pull up a video of what happened. It was weird.
Yeah, I know.
It's very, very weird.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know either.
Mm.
It's very. I was gonna write it down, but
I was gonna say, have you been
interesting.
keeping up with your? Do you have a sleep? You have one, right? Or a dream journal? Or no?
I do entries like every so often.
Mm-hmm.
Like once a week maybe. Okay, that's usually what I remember. But anytime I do remember and it's very vivid, I try to like write down as much information I know because sometimes it will reveal something. I remember one time, I think I think I almost got electrocuted in my dream.
Mm.
And apparently that means like I just need to be cautious of my habits and how it can give me consequences.
Mm.
Mm.
What do you think it means? That sounds like what someone else thinks it means.
I don't know. What it sounded like in terms of me about to get electrocuted just sounds like I have to, or not I have to, but things could be more worse than I could possibly imagine.
Mm.
So I just need to take heed and understand what is going on around me because some things can kill me.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Dreams are weird.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be interesting if you went back and then later tried to ascribe meaning to those dreams. Like to see if you found a link between the dream that you had and
that's actually a really good idea.
An occurrence that came in your life. Maybe if you read it like 3 to 6 months later or something.
And
like
see,
that.
like, oh yeah, I see what that meant.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Maybe, I don't know. What's the point of journaling?
Well,
twofold, right?
There's actually like no real purpose of journaling except that it helps you personally.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to journal if you don't want to. I feel like everyone's form of self-care is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, it's very therapeutic because, like I said, I have that time where I can literally just sit with myself and just write down how I feel, whatever it is that I feel. And No one can disturb it. You know what I'm saying? This is just me. Um, but for some other people, it can be like, oh, I like to work out. Oh, I like to ABC. You know,
Let
it's
me ask you this:
mhm,
how different do you think people are?
not that different.
Mm,
I just think it's all preference.
mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like the whole
Do you even think preferences are? I think, yeah, okay,
yeah, no, yeah. I
okay.
think
I do.
preferences, yeah,
I agree.
there's a little difference there,
Hmm.
but the whole uh 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 idea of a morning routine or the whole idea of trying to better yourself is all in the same.
Hmm.
It's just a matter of what's your preference of how you're gonna approach it.
Yeah, it's
That's it.
universal.
Yeah, it's universal. Like everyone, like it doesn't matter who you are. Everyone has a morning routine. Like, I mean,
It
some
may
people,
not be well defined.
yeah, it may not be well defined. Actually, I was
It
gonna,
may be like wake up, rush, get this, go there, but
yeah,
that's your
that's
routine.
that's a routine. I remember, and it was actually kind of concerning me. Um, Gary V.
Hmm.
Someone asked him what his morning routine was,
Hmm.
and he's like, "Okay, I'll wake up around like 6:30 or 7,
Hmm.
and he'll check his phone, um, look at the emails, see what's going on in the world. Uh, he'll work out, I think, and then after that, he's gonna be constantly like be sending emails, doing texts, whatever it is, like always on his phone. And I'm not saying being on your phone is bad, but there is a level of concern for him. I was like, I just feel like uh uh your morning routine doesn't necessarily make you happy. I feel like in a way, and this is gonna sound bad, I do think that Gary Vee is a very positive influence. I think that he has a lot to say and he has a lot of good perspective. But I also feel like, you know, inside he might not feel that way truly.
Mm.
Yeah,
Well, I don't know him as an individual,
me
so
neither.
I'm not gonna speak on like if he's internally satisfied and has fulfillment in his life and shit.
Yeah,
I don't know because I don't know him.
gratitude.
I think just generally speaking, uh, like the time of day is sacred. Days of the
Yeah.
week is arbitrary. That's man made. We to a degree. Um, there is the concept of the Sabbath, which I think we talked about.
Hmm.
And I wonder actually if before biblical times, like what was record keeping like in terms of did people work on a 3-day quote unquote week? Did they work on a like how big was the time frame of thinking?
Mm.
And that's actually one of the luxuries of life that most people don't know, which is literally forward thinking. The ability to think in the future is a luxury. It's not afforded to everyone. Like a lot of people live day by day. They're like, yo, I need to make money today. I need to pay my rent today. Right. And there's some people in society who think 5 years ahead, right? Who are like, all right, 5 years from now, I'm trying to do this, that, and they move and maneuver in that way. There's people who are so wealthy that they think, 100 years ahead, or they're thinking about their generations of kids and how everything's going to unfold, whatever. I'm wondering, like, back in the day, right? The concept of the Sabbath is like every so often, right? And in the biblical sense, it's every 6 days. After the end of every 6 day, the seventh day should be a day of rest. So like 6 days of work, 1 day of rest, and like different people exhibit this in different ways. So the Jews on Saturday, the Muslims on Friday, the Christians on Sunday, all working off of a 7-day work week, right? Before biblical times, like I wonder I'm curious, how long was a typical week, you know?
Mm.
Because it's kind of arbitrary outside of that concept of the Sabbath, depending on if you think that that's an instinctual thing, this days of work and 1 day of rest, concept, or like whether you think it's like man-made also, in which case my argument would be, and still holds true, is that the time of day, going back to what we were talking about, is the most like natural and like sacred thing because that's not something that we decide. We
Yeah.
decide the day of the
So
week. We don't decide the time of day. So you should set routines and habits to the time of day as opposed to the day of the week.
yeah, I 100% agree. Actually, that thought came into my mind a while back. Actually, when I was considering, let's say, for instance, the people who built the pyramids.
Mm,
Just the whole concept of how they even built the pyramids is mind blowing. It's like, yo, how did y'all even know where to place this, and how are these three pyramids of Giza in alignment with the stars? Like, how did y'all do it? You know what I'm saying? It's because the technology they had at that time was so powerful for the day by day,
Hmm.
right? Now, in terms of a week, I feel like just universally now it works. You know what I'm saying? I think it's just a system that works. It's very system, like, not, it's not very system. It's very similar to a lot of other systems that are in place. Let's say, for instance, if you go to an airport, 9 times out of 10, there's English or there's Mandarin. You know what I'm saying? Because it's ideal and it's universal for people that have those language barriers. So similar to the week, I think people could have, before biblical times, a 3-day week, a 4-day week, 2-day, maybe even one. They probably never even considered what a week was, or maybe they had. But their whole mindset was kind of a day by day. It's like, I have today.
Mm.
I don't know it's tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, the concept of a week, for instance, like you said, it works because we all believe it works. In the same way that I don't know if you have you ever seen the book or read it, *Sapiens*.
No.
It's called *Sapiens* by Noah Yuval Harari,
Okay.
and in it he has this, or I don't know if it's his idea, but at least that's where I learned the idea. It's called like intersubjective truth, right? So like objective truth, subjective truth, and then intersubjective truth, meaning that something is true because we believe it's true,
Mm.
right? Like subjective is you believe it's true, objective is because it is
It's true,
quote
'cause it's
unquote true,
facts.
and then intersubjective truth is because we believe it's true.
Mm.
And that could be like the concept of the week, right? Or like you said, like the reason that Mandarin and English are at the airport in Arabic, and you know.
Yeah. I think you can have, it's called inner subjective truth.
Mm-hmm.
You can have those in communities. That's why, like, even there's islands where they're a civilization, but they're not civilized in terms of Western ideals. You know what I'm saying? They're very to themselves. Because I think that they had a inner subjective truth of, like, we believe that staying on this island and holding our sacred values is the truth, and we won't allow anyone to interfere. Like, I remember there was some people that try to interview them when a plane,
Who?
it was some civilization on an island, I'm not sure
Oh.
who. They flew in with the plane, and in the backside of the plane is just a bunch of arrows. Like, they immediately told them, like, do not come here. Like, this is just us. Or so you're gonna get killed. But yeah, it even goes in with today. Like, objective truth, I feel like it's like 2 plus 2. Subjective is, I feel like in a way it's like a preference. It's just a way that you want to choose to live your life.
Then that's kind of at least how I look at faith, right? Is like you can choose to believe or not to believe, like, but what's the, I don't even want to say what's the harm in believing. It's like, because that makes it seem like there's no no reason
No
to,
consequence.
yeah, like there's no reason like not to, whatever. But when I look at like when people are like, oh, people who, because I used to be like that, is like, people who believe are idiots, like, people who, like, I was like, why are these people are dumb, like that's how I'd look at them.
Mhm.
But even if I disagreed, which I don't anymore, you know what I'm saying, necessarily, but even if I did, like, if something like makes someone's life better in some way, like, how can you go against it? Of course, like, if there's some wrong attached to it, but you have to, like, qualify that or quantify that, like, from an individualistic standpoint. Like, is this person individual? Because the church does do quote, and when I say the church, I'm talking just about organized religion. Like, there's some wrong stuff. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? There's a lot of wrong stuff. Like these mega churches, like that whole concept, the idea of a mega church is inherently anti, like, religion, or
I think
anti like spirit, because the idea of a church to me is a community. You know what I'm saying? Like, organized thing. And you're not in a community with like 20,000 people, some shit on TV. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're a community with the people literally around you. Like, I feel like the idea of a church is like, it should be like almost like there's a neighborhood store, there's a neighborhood church. It's like, this is where us, and I get to see my neighbors, and like we can,
Yeah.
we can believe together.
I agree. I think most organized
Not we can donate
religions
money.
have, in a way, a quote unquote mega church. You know what I'm saying? Where they do make profit, and they do make you believe, oh, you have to, do this in order for you to have blessings from God. You know what I'm saying? That's what they did, like salvation. That's what Martin Luther, like, pretty much, he's the reason why the church even split. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, like, he realized, like, yo, y'all are paying to be in this church when God never said this. You know what I'm saying? That's why I forgot what the factions were, but they split into those factions.
I think it was Lutheranism.
Yeah, yeah, Lutheranism and Baptism. I don't know. You know, don't quote me.
I don't remember.
But in terms of what people like, in terms of their faith, I think as long as there's no infliction on morality or it's hurting someone else, I think it's okay. Now, let's say, for instance, this. Like, I was even considering this, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to go through with it. I'm probably going to get a nose ring.
Oh, why?
Because I want to. Like, it's because I feel like for me, I'm like, this is going to be my look, and I like how it looks on me. So I wanted to do it. Now, even from the way you looked at me, you're like, this nigga gay. I get it. You know, I completely understand, you know, if someone looked at me, is like, oh, is this dude bi? Is he, you know, whatever. Cool. I get it. Understand. But I shouldn't choose my life decisions based on how someone else will perceive me. You know what I'm saying? I should live for me, you know, and I have to be there. I have to be like that everywhere I go because that's who I am. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's say, for instance, if I went to Sudan with a nose ring, oh, you would be ostracized, not ostracized, but you'd be questioned a lot, you know what I'm saying, whatever. But you would have to kind of live that truth if I decided to do that. But, you know, regardless, I feel like for me to do that is because I took it in myself. I'm like, yo, I believe this is a representation of me. This is who I am as a person. You know what I'm saying? And it goes alignment with my faith as a person. That's cool. You know what I'm saying? If it's not hurting anyone, that's fine. That's kind of what I believe.
Okay. There's two sides to the individualism and freedom. I agree. No, the nose ring thing is cool. That's not the point I'm arguing.
Yeah.
There's two sides to individualism and freedom, right? Now, going back to like the plant analogy and stuff like that, like, you know, like you shouldn't be influenced. Even going back to the thing that we originally discussed is like, you shouldn't, like when you go about your day, right? And you have these negative influences acting upon you, and you have to like bring about or like combat it with like your own positive energy so that you maintain like the same pace and sanity and everything like that. Like the goal of bringing mindfulness throughout your day, or the goal of, you know, bringing God or however you want to describe it in throughout the day, is that hopefully you grow up to be strong enough that not only can you fight against the negative influences of the day-to-day life, but you become such a powerful positive influence, you know, that you begin to attract others of similarity to you. Right? Now, the concept of individualism is true you know, on one hand, because if you have a strong personal constitution, meaning if you're someone who has taken the time to understand not only yourself, but what it is that you truly believe and want and love and on all that in life, and then are able to hold that to be true. You find the things basically in your life that you're like, regardless of the circumstances, I find these things to be true. You know, like you've done that exercise and you've answered those questions, like down that rabbit hole, and you've developed this strong personal constitution. You can step out into the world in any environment and defend yourself against it because you took the time to craft it, your constitution, you know, to more perfectly craft it. On the other side of things, there is value in culture and 100%. In society. And some of those values are unseen until you learn like the history and experience the things in life that other people have to like bring you to where you are. You know, like people 1,000 years ago, you know, and that's going back a long time to establish culture. We can go back just a couple 50, you know, the culture changes all the time, but whatever, go back 1,000 years ago, like people weren't idiots. 2,000 years ago, people weren't idiots. Like they had the same level of intellectualism. It was just that where those capacities reached differed, right? Like you said, they built the pyramids, but it's because they were just as smart as we are today, and using the resources they had around them, they just got the smartest people to sit there and fucking think all day about it. Like until they came up with the idea.
There's people that built it. There's people that designed it. You know what I'm saying? There's a whole
they got to
catalog
sit
of
there
it.
all day, and they didn't have Instagram and Pinterest and whatever else people are on to like distract them. They were just there chilling, so they could just sit there all day and be like, "Oh yeah, I think this shape works, and I got my drawing right here, and let's try it." And if the shit didn't work, oh well, we still have the rest of our lives. There's no Netflix, and there's nothing to distract me.
Let's keep going.
Like just keep it, keep it pushing, you know. And like, so like there's certain things in and of that like hold true over time, and they remain cultural values. And there's a reason that they've remained valuable over time. You know, like, and for me, some of those are like things that people nowadays are kind of moving against, right? So I'm still kind of with the idea of marriage, right? Like, or
what do you mean by kind of?
I mean, like the unification of two people,
okay.
like in like a public thing, like to the world, we're making an announcement that we're gonna be unifying like our families or our tribes or our legacies or our, you know, our souls. And you know what I'm saying? Like we're making a public decree of this. Like I'm still with that general idea, even though nowadays a lot of people are moving away from it, right? But that's a value that I found that holds true throughout the thing. So it's part of the culture that, you know, and there's places you can go in the world where you'll be the minority, but that's something that I still, you know, fuck with pretty much, you know? So like, I think that I agree with you. The nose ring, if you want it, like, bro, at the end of the day, it's not me. I'm not wearing the shit. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like you can do whatever you want everywhere. But individualism isn't the end all be all. Individualism very easily can turn to selfishness.
100%. I 100% agree. I think if you are constantly on this mindset of it's about me, and you don't understand necessarily where you are from and how your culture is, it can have an infliction on the relationship that you have with those people. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause like, even like what you said, it was like, if you are being selfish, not only with your ideals, but with your time and the way that you spend your energy, cause you feel like, oh, it's about me, they're not going to see you as part of the community anymore. They kind of just see you as, oh, that's just Ahmed. You know what I'm saying? He just does his own thing. When it's like, you know, you should still come together as people. And it's very similar to the marriage thing where like you come together as people. You're not just marrying that one person. You're marrying their entire family, bro. You know what I'm saying? You have to, you know, have good relations with them, understand them, you know what I'm saying? Make it work. Like it's not an easy thing. Now, marriage in itself, in terms of having the government involved, is like a little like.
That's why I threw you heard the kind.
Yeah.
You heard the kind in there.
It's kind of stupid.
I was like, the idea, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
the idea of having us together. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
But the government being involved, I'm like,
right.
I'm not sure about that. You know.
I mean, but here's my thing, right? And here's my pushback against myself on that, right? The government being involved literally is the culture. Like continuing, like that is the societal decree. This is how you publicly declare it. Like government is just the people. It's us. You know, it's like
we
always
decree that it happened.
Yeah, like we always say that like government is like some they and these powerful figures and
but the government is us.
JP Morgan and the Rothschild. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but they are us.
Exactly. It's just us. Like we are the people. Like if that's what a government is, it's a collective group of people working towards like a common action or a common goal. You know, so it's like at the end of the day, like if you don't want the government to recognize it, it's like, well, in certain aspects, you're kind of sidestepping the government. And then I think that's okay. I don't think it's fine to always be a rule follower, you know, but I think if you choose to follow or choose to not follow the rules, regardless of which, you should understand why. You know, I think a lot of times the opposite's true too. Like if something's the rule, like, I mean, well, I guess marriage was the rule and now people are going against it, but you know, I think there's a lot of things that are like rules and people don't question them.
No, yeah, 100%. I remember this one I had.
They could be unsaid rules.
Yeah,
like the nose ring is an unsaid rules. Like, why does it
matter? Like, I remember
nose ring. Why does it matter? What about Dennis Rodman?
Who's Dennis Rodman?
He played on the Bulls. You don't remember?
No.
Oh, okay. I mean, he literally played on the Bulls before you were born.
Oh yeah, that's probably why. I don't
know. But he played with Jordan and Pippen. And Dennis Rodman, you know, he had the crazy colored hair. He had the nose rings and the earrings and the tattoos and everything. And this is back in the day, like before
Even 6'9".
6'9", bro. I'm saying like before you were born, bro. And he was like one of the star players in like the NBA. So like
culturally, it was just
it was
a
shock. And this dude was slanging it. Like he was with Madonna. He's
Damn.
like he's very outspoken, very like whatever. Like he was over in North Korea, with Kim Jong-un.
Oh, that's him.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, ambassador to North Korea from the U.S.
That's crazy.
Rodman.
That's crazy. No, but like when I got my earring, I remember Mom and I had a discussion. She was like, "Why do you feel like you need to have it? Like it's women are supposed to have it, whatever it is." But I remember, and I brought this up because it's true. Back, if you go back 2,000 years or so, the culture of Sudan and Egypt. Men wore heels, men wore makeup, and they wore earrings or like piercings. So in my head, I was like, so why is it now, frowned upon? You know what I'm saying? And she's like, well, culturally, it's just not correct. And I was like, okay, that's fair. But that was a cultural, fact or a truth I had to question and be like, you know what? Although culturally, yes, that's true. I'm going to like, not defy it, but kind of go on my own way. I'm like, I don't necessarily believe this part of the culture, and I'm gonna kind of just do my own thing with it because there's not a, universal. Oh, you cannot have piercings.
Well, here in the U.S., men wore powdered wigs.
Yeah,
and they role played.
Yeah, no, even in Asia, like the women actors or whatever, those were men that were playing in the
back in the day.
Back in the day, yeah, because the women. I forgot why they didn't allow women to do it, but it might have been because of
because niggas were stupid. Bro.
Yeah,
like
because of like sexualization.
They're like,
and shit
keep women inside. Like we can't.
Keep the woman down. Be in the kitchen. Like, yeah,
it's like, bro, it's weird. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I remember. I don't know why I was thinking about this yesterday. I was driving, and sometimes I'll be hesitant to criticize like women's actions.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes I'm like, I'm not sure if this is misogynistic or if this is just me just criticizing what they're doing. And then I was just thinking, I was like, wait, no, it's not misogynistic. I'm just, I'm literally criticizing something about an action that you guys do. It's not about you as a person. I feel like misogynistic is like, go back in the kitchen. You are worthless. I'm superior. That's pretty much like misogyny in itself. I feel like everyone has a hint of misogyny, whether you're a man or a woman. You know what I'm saying? Everyone has some kind of misogyny.
Well, I was gonna say like we all have biases, right? And if we're aware of our biases, it's fine to bring consciousness to them, like you did in that moment, and question yourself. Is like, let me think about this, and do I hold this opinion because of bias, or do I hold this opinion because I've tried to be objective on the matter? And I think that's like what you're like. That's what when people are like, "Oh, you need to do the work on racism," is like, or on any like sort of ism. It's like that's what they're kind of talking about. Is going back to it again, mindfulness into your day-to-day life and your decisions, and most importantly, like the thoughts and opinions that come into your mind. Because it may be like almost impossible for you to stop the quote unquote natural reflex or whatever of when you see a black guy or any sort of guy walking up to your car at night and you're sitting there to lock your door, right? And you should probably lock your door. Like
if someone pulls up to your car at night, regardless of skin color, I'm gonna lock my car.
Yeah, but then also at other times, like, and this is where like the subtleties of like people are like, oh, what if someone calls you a nigger? It's like, bro, that's
no
hilarious.
one's ever that bold.
Well, I mean, bro, even if
some
they
people
did,
are.
like, yeah, I mean, well, they'd probably be drunk if they did. But I mean, even if not, like, it would be hilarious to me because I'd just be like, this is funny, like, because it's such it's such an unsophisticated like attempt at knocking me down that shows me exactly like where you are. Like, you know what I'm saying? As opposed to someone who is in a position, say for instance, of power, who because of an internal bias that they had, chose someone else for a job than me, even though I may be better suited for the position. But just from a slight bias from seeing my name, maybe if that name was Chris Johnson instead, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they would have given it a second look, and then maybe I would have been considered for. And it's small because maybe at that it's just like they would have, when they're going through it, they would have been like, consider this one okay, and then like I got the interview, and then say I nailed the interview, and then I got the job. Like it can, the butterfly effect, like it can end up changing a lot more things. And those biases is like that's what you have to ask yourself when you're reviewing a resume, or when you meet someone's significant other and they're like a different race, or they're the same gender, or whatever, a million and one other things. Like you have to constantly question yourself, like, do I not like this or that because of this person and who said it, or because of what was said or done?
Mm. Yeah. I 100% agree. I don't think I have even like any like additional points to add to it because you literally just hit the nail on everything. I'm like, yeah, no, I 100% agree. I just think that in terms of the subtlety, in terms of racism, that's what most times what it is. It's not someone calling you the N-word, from across the street how it used to be. You know what I'm saying? Like people were very, very bold and people still are, but 9 times out of 10, it's very subtle things. Like if I'm walking on the sidewalk and a woman is walking the other way and she has a purse, she'll most likely clutch her purse. That's happened to me a couple times. And I'll notice it. I'm just like, okay, I see, what I'm saying, what it is. And it's kind of like you said, like the biases where it's like, there's a biases?
I mean, we know what you mean.
Biases of how they perceive my race. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to say,
ooh, let's have an interesting discussion, right? As you, the person being quote unquote biased against or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
How can you tell in that instant what it is that is triggering her bias? How can you tell, for instance,
that's what I was gonna.
It's because you're black and not because you're a male?
No, yeah, that's what I was
or
gonna,
that you're a male and not.
That's what I was going to touch upon, where I was like, I don't know necessarily their upbringing. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times people want to out people for being racist and how could you and yada, 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 which I understand. I completely understand. But sometimes, unfortunately, these people are ignorant because of their experience in life. It's very similar to like the people who are like elitist. You know what I'm saying? They'll say an idea that seems for them, oh, that's such an easy resolution. But for someone who's in a lower class, economically, they're like, you don't even understand what I'm going through. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't say something, oh, so simple and it'll be finished. It'll be so fixed. You know what I'm saying? It's like, say for instance, like, I don't understand why people are poor. Just stop being poor. Oh, thank you so much. You know what I'm saying? Like something like that.
Just make more money.
Yeah, just make more money. It's like, no, like you don't understand. A lot of times people who are in lower economical situations don't have time to make investments or, have time to make plans for the future. They have time for today. They have to pay things today. They have to do things today. So I think when people are confronted with situations like that and they are being ignorant, I think instead of fighting fire with someone who's ignorant and they did have fire in the conversation, try to like, I wouldn't say, oh, just understand and brush it off. Like, no, understand it, but also like talk to them directly and be like, yo, that wasn't cool. You have to understand like this is the reasoning of why it isn't cool. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of educate in a way. Because that's like the only way that
Here comes the pushback.
Along.
Here comes the pushback.
Yeah, of course.
But Ahmed, it's not my job to educate other people. Nigga, yes it is. I don't even. I'm not even gonna wait for that. It's your job to educate the people around you.
I understand both sides because here's the pushback of that.
Okay.
Right. So a lot of times for Black women, they're seen as the resource to ask them what's going on. What do I do? Da 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 da.
People don't ask Black men.
They ask Black men, but 9 times out of 10, because of how strong a Black woman is, they're gonna ask a Black woman. So they don't always have the answer. So I can understand the frustration of why are you always asking me? Like you have a book, research it yourself. Da da da. But on the other hand, it doesn't matter if you're a Black woman, Black man. Doesn't matter what race you are. If you have the knowledge of something, and someone is, willfully asking for information, you should. That's like your duty to like, you know what, let me help you and educate you on these certain things. It doesn't have to be necessarily have a whole hour sit down discussion. It can be like, here are some resources that I know of. Here, da da da. You do your own research. You can help them with that.
So big caveat is like if you have the knowledge, right? And that means that the other person also, and here's the difficult part, right? If someone needs to have a conversation with you, like say for instance, like they're coming up to you because they have a question about like a black issue or black, it's just something related to like, black culture, and they want to ask, or they go up to an Asian person, they want to ask something about generally about Asian culture, right? Like if you know it, you should share the information, right? Now, of course, now here's the difficult thing, right? Is like at a certain point, that person who asked the question, like they are showing their bias by coming to you to ask that question, but that's because like bias and pattern recognition are natural human functions, right? Like if you see something and then like there's a pattern of this behavior, you're like in your mind it just clicks and everything. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you have to be like understanding, and like part of the understanding is the fact that when someone has a question about a specific group of people, like they usually or they tend to go to that group of people for the answer. You shouldn't feel like you're the sole source of information. If you don't have information, like let them know. You know what I'm saying? Like say for instance, you go up to someone who looks like they're Asian, you're like, "Hey man, like, can you tell me about Korea and stuff?" Like that might be like the Korean War. That might be like the wrong, like,
like, nigga, I'm Chinese. What you talking about?
Exactly. But here's the thing is like, if you tell them like, yo, I'm Chinese, like, all right, cool. Now the person knows. Now it's in the person's court how they kind of deal with the situation. If they come back and like, but what do you mean you don't know about, you know what I'm saying? Like, then you can address it in a certain way. But like, if they're genuinely like, oh, okay, like, I didn't know, or whatever, like you can gauge it, but I feel like you shouldn't feel like so like upset all the time that other people are ignorant.
Well, here's the pushback on that as well, right? A lot of times, because people are like, if you're not white, you're in the minority. When there is an issue that rises, whether it be in Asian culture, Black culture, Spanish culture, and you are the person in the room, they look at you for the resource. They expect you to provide them with knowledge and understanding, and you might not understand it at all. You know what I'm saying? You might be like, I don't even know. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know.
So why don't you say I don't even know?
That's true. No, I think that, but like I said, it's the frustration part where it's like you're always seen as that. But I also understand of if you don't know, just say that you don't know.
Yeah. Like I mean, it would happen. It's not like it didn't happen to me, especially when I was in college. Like you go most places in college, like it's mainly not Black people. So it's like there's anything related to Black people, slavery, this, that, Africa, and like. And here's the thing, it's like, it's understandable. It's also generally like misguided in a sense, because in my opinion, I'm not a fan of those arguments that like, if you're not a certain people, you don't have an opinion on those topics relating to those people. Meaning that just because like we're talking about slavery, don't look at the Black kid when there's a white history professor on slavery in America. Like you know what I'm saying? Like in the room with them, like you should consider everyone's perspective. That's the important thing. And I think that's the double-edged side of it, is that, you want representation and you want your people to speak on your issues, but at the same time, those people don't always want to be the burden of having to speak on those issues.
Yeah. 100%. I agree with that. I think that's a good way to end off the podcast.
Yeah.
Any last words or any final words?
No. We kind of just went all over the place. Conspiracies, God, faith, my garden.
But it all goes back to the morning routine.
Okay.
Yeah. So
okay.
This has been Ahmed
and Lofy,
and this is the Brotherly Love Podcast. Thank you guys for listening.
We out.
Peace.